Hard to believe Thanksgiving week is already here, but we are in the thick of the football season. Playoff races coming down to the wire, divisional matchups this week, and maybe the best Thanksgiving slate we've had in probably the last 4 or 5 years. Packers, Lions, Chiefs, Cowboys, very important games. Ravens, Bengals still means a lot with the Ravens battling for the division. Hell, Joe Burrow coming back to will attract some eyeballs to the night game. We got a great Friday game on Black Friday. The past couple of years where they've tried that out, that game has really struggled. But this year we get 8-3 Bears versus the 8-3 Eagles. And then we got a couple games or a few games to break down on Sunday as well. So going to go through hit a lot this week, but the Thanksgiving week episode, one of my favorites every year. So I'm excited to be here. Welcome back, Kevin. How are we?
Yeah, great. It was fun just looking through the schedule this week. Like you said, a lot of great games, and we're going to go through more than 5 this week, which should be fun.
Yeah, so we got 3 Thanksgiving games. We'll touch on all those, the Black Friday game, and then 3 games on Sunday as well. Towards the end, we're going to cook up a couple touchdown parlays, give picks for Thursday and Friday, and then give a combination pick for either a Sunday or a Monday game. Go with our dog of the day and our lock of the week as well. So we'll start it off at the top on Thanksgiving Day. And usually this game starts at noon or 12:15 or something. It's starting at 1 o'clock this year on Fox. That's definitely a schedule change. But the schedule makers, I think, got what they wanted with this one. Packers sitting at 7-3-1, traveling to Detroit to play the 7-4 Lions. For so many years, we've been accustomed to this Lions team being one of the worst in the NFL on Thanksgiving. And, over the past few years, they've really rebuilt that franchise. And this is a really relevant game here in the NFC North and for wild card spot as well down the line. But 1 o'clock kick on Fox. Lions are 2.5-point favorite, over under 48.5. Packers dismantled the Lions in the season opener. Do you think the Lions can get some revenge in this matchup?
I think they do. Lions winning 30-24. Lions minus 2.5. Over 48.5. As you said, that week 1 matchup, that seems super long ago because that Green Bay offense really hasn't been there much like that week 1 game this season. They've just been wildly inconsistent. I think the Packers offense will have Josh Jacobs back this week, coming back from a bone bruise, which should help some, but I don't know if he's going to be 100%. And the Packers' inconsistencies can kind of just be shown in the fact that they're 4-7 against the spread this season. And I know the Lions haven't looked great recently either. After really struggling against the Eagles and then getting kind of into a shootout with the Giants last week. But Jahmyr Gibbs has just looked awesome. He's one of those dudes that just jumps off the screen, and you can clearly see he's just the best player on the field. I think they just keep feeding him the ball. It seems like good things are bound to happen. And the Lions offense as a whole is also just a super good unit. They're leading the league in scoring as an offense. The Packers defense, though, is legit, and I think if they're able to disrupt Goff's rhythm, they'll absolutely have a chance to win this game. But I'm just going with the Lions at home here, winning on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Lions have looked kind of shaky since the bye last week as we watched that Giants game. They needed some heroics down the stretch. They lost to the Vikings, who we've seen really struggle as well over the past few weeks. So, what Lions team shows up, we saw them really get dismantled too against the Eagles in that offense. But this is a huge matchup here at home, one of the bigger Thanksgiving Day matchups for the Lions that I can remember in my lifetime at least. I'm in a Packers team too that I think even with the 7-3-1 record, they still haven't nearly impressed me enough as I think other people are impressed by them. Sure, that defense can come to play, but the offense is inconsistent as well. They didn't even look that great last weekend, and I think they were really kind of just beneficiaries of J.J. McCarthy leading that Vikings offense. So I like the Lions to win this one at home. I think this game on the calendar going into the year, everyone had this as a split. The Lions probably win the home game. The Packers probably win the home game, and I think that's what we get here. And I think the Lions, push comes to shove at the end of the day, I have a little bit more faith in them because I think that offense is still explosive enough on most weeks that they're able to outscore their opponent if they need to get into a shootout. The Packers, I think, really can only win at this stage of the game if that defense plays elite and if Jordan Love just kind of takes care of the football, play that kind of old school style of ball. So I think the Lions are able to control the tempo in this one, and you touched on it. Jahmyr Gibbs has just been incredible this season. We've had some really impressive running back seasons, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs. JSN at the wide receiver spot. Like, who is it going to come down to for the offensive player of the year? Jahmyr Gibbs has another big game here with the national eye. The odds might start to shift more so in towards his favor. So I think he puts on another show in this one. I think the Lions win this one 28-23. So the Lions minus 2.5 over 48.5. All right, Thursday afternoon, two teams that are still fighting for playoff spots and coming off big wins, both of them last week, with the Chiefs at 6-5, at the Cowboys 5-1. I don't think it's crazy to say this could be up there as one of the 5 most regular season viewed games in NFL history. You get Mahomes and the Chiefs at the Cowboys, both teams kind of playing for their playoff lives. That's a huge spot for the NFL, and they have to be happy that both those squads won last week, because this sets up a really big matchup here. 4:30 kick on CBS. Chiefs are a 3-point favorite, over under 52.5. Can the Cowboys keep it going after that impressive comeback win from last week?
I'm going the Chiefs winning a close one, 24-23. So the Cowboys cover 3 under 52.5. But honestly, I don't really know with this one. I struggled with it a lot. I think the Cowboys are a completely different team at home than on the road. Their offense can be super dynamic, and the defense has been playing a lot better as of late. In the past 2 weeks, the defense has 38 pressures, and they're only allowing 45 rushing yards a game, which is good for 3rd and 2nd in the league. We know earlier in the year they couldn't stop the run at all. So seems like the trade Jerry made, getting some dudes back healthy, seems to be helping them a lot. And then the Chiefs have just been super inconsistent this year. I feel like there's been 2 or 3 games this year where it seems like their back is up against the wall and everyone says there's no way the Chiefs lose this game this week, and then they end up losing it. And then obviously last week they were able to get a huge win in OT against the Colts, which kind of brings back the old Chiefs, where they do win games that everyone says that they would never lose. So I'm just going to continue to give the benefit of the doubt to the Chiefs because of Mahomes, and then also because of the Chiefs defense. They're only letting up 18 points a game. That's kind of been the unsung hero of the Chiefs during this whole dynasty, is they have had a really good defense most years, and Mahomes and the offense would get all the attention, but especially as of late as well, the defense seems to be carrying more of the load. So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt again here to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with the Chiefs in this one as well to win and to cover. Credit to the Cowboys last week. That was an impressive come-from-behind victory. The defense is definitely looking better over the second half of the season, and that offense can go score for score with just about any team in the league. But I think when you look at the Eagles last week, everything had to go wrong for them to lose that game. Dumb turnovers, whether it was the muff punt, the fumble by Saquon, 14 penalties, basically everything that had to go wrong for the Eagles to lose that game went wrong. And I think when you play a team like the Chiefs that doesn't really beat themselves, and we saw last week finally win a one-score game for the first time this season, that's something that I think can kind of roll over for them, and they might be able to start to build some momentum. It was a spot where the Chiefs looked dead in the water, and their season might have been done last week if they had lost to the Colts. But once again, they find a way to win. And as you said, give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll take them to win this one. I'll take them to cover. I'll go Chiefs 27-23, so Chiefs -3, go under 52.5. I think both these defenses have been playing better over the second half of the season. All right, to wrap it up on Thanksgiving night, the Bengals at 3-8 with Joe Burrow returning. They run the table at 9-8. Do they have a chance to make it in the division? Maybe get the final wild card spot? Who knows? We'll see. But Joe Burrow wants to give it a shot. They'll go to Baltimore to play the 6-5 Ravens, who just haven't looked right all year. Lamar's been battling injuries all season. That defense was bruised and battered early in the season. The defense is definitely healthier, playing better. But what do they look like against the Bengals with Joe Burrow back in the fold now, Jamar Chase back in the fold? 8:20 kick on NBC. Ravens, 7-point favorite here at home, over under at 52.5.
Yeah, I'm going Ravens winning pretty comfortably 30-21. So they cover the 7 under 52.5 hidden. Like you said, Joe Burrow being back, obviously a big help for the Bengals. But honestly, that wasn't really the problem since he's been out. The offense has still been playing pretty well and putting up a decent amount of points. The real problem is the defense. They're just absolutely terrible. I don't know if Joe Burrow fixes that. You can make the argument just him being out there can boost the defense. If they're able to extend drives, maybe they're not on the field as much, all things like that. So I'd say he might affect it minimally at best. And the defense is just horrible. Like I said, they're last in the league in yards per game, giving up 415 yards a game, giving up 32 points points a game, which is also worst in the league. They also lead the league in missed tackles. They're not getting off the field. And then for the Ravens, they've been winning recently, but it hasn't looked great. Like you said, Lamar has had a ton of different just nagging injuries this year, and it looks like it seems to be limiting him a little bit. But against this defense, I think he may be able to get back on track. It's also a primetime game, and it's been pretty well documented how Lamar has been money in those kind of games, 21-7 in his career. So I think the Ravens are able to kind of figure something out offensively, make enough plays against this terrible defense, and win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens as well, 30-20. Anytime Joe Burrow is back on the floor or back on the court, back on the field, you give them a chance and you don't completely write them off. But coming back from this injury, how healthy really is he? Jamar, I assume, is going to get peppered with targets in this game. Might be one of his highest receiving games of his career. Coming off that suspension, he's playing with a little, fire under him as well. But the Ravens haven't been looking great over the past few weeks, even since Lamar came back, but they have been finding some ways to win. That Bengals defense, too, as you touched on, absolutely abysmal. Can't stop anything at all right now. Al Golden leaves Notre Dame last year, coaching one of the best defenses in the country in college football, makes that jump to the NFL. And this Bengals defense has just been absolutely abysmal the entire season. The Ravens can't go to get it going against this this group. You have to be worried about kind of what their ceiling is going forward for the rest of the year. So I think this game, maybe they were able to build some confidence, score some points. I'll take them to win and to cover. Divisional game, though, I wouldn't be surprised if it's close. Out of all the games that we're going to break down this week, this is the one I don't feel the best about for sure. So I'm going to go Ravens 30, Bengals 20, Ravens -7, and we'll go with under 52.5. We'll go to Friday now. I don't think coming into the year, people expected this to be 8-3 versus 8-3. I thought the Eagles would definitely be around this record, probably about that. And the Bears would probably be closer to like a 6-5, something like that. Maybe even a 7-4 if everything broke right. But the Bears sitting at 8-3, and they beat up on a lot of bad opponents. I think they've been a beneficiary of the schedule, and the line reflects that in this one. This is a 3:00 kick on Prime. Eagles a 7-point favorite, despite how much that they've struggled, even though they're finding ways to win. Being a 7-point favorite in this one is pretty crazy, and Vegas has really respected them. It shows over under 44 points in this one. I think the Eagles can actually cover this 7-point spread.
I'm going no. I have them winning 23-17. So Bears cover the 7 under 44. Both of these teams have a lot of questions, but they have very different feels to them. Despite being both 8-3, it seems like the Eagles are just having an awful season, and then the Bears are kind of having like a dream season here so far. But both teams have just found ways to win games just in just crazy fashion, comebacks and stuff like that. And the Bears defense relies heavily on turnovers, but the Eagles are generally very good at not turning it over. I think last week was kind of an anomaly, and one of those turnovers was on special teams. So I'm going with the Eagles, mainly though because of the defense. Even though they lost to Dallas last week, it felt like it was more on the offense than the defense. I think letting up only 24 to the Cowboys offense in Dallas is a game you generally feel you can win. The Bears have won 7 of 8, but the teams they've beaten haven't been super great in that stretch, kind of like you touched on. The teams they beat over that period: the Raiders, Commanders, Saints, Bengals, Giants, Vikings, and Steelers. So like you said, I think definitely some luck there with the scheduling, not exactly elite competition. I like the Eagles D-line to get pressure on Caleb here, and the offense I think will do what it's done in 8 out of the 11 games so far this season, and that's just make enough plays to win the game.
Yeah, can the Eagles put together 4 quarters? I think that's the biggest question mark in this game, because say what you want about the Bears, sitting here at 8-3 and beating up on some inferior opponents, they are a resilient team, and they do find ways to come back and win. Caleb Williams has been really good in the fourth quarter this year, and if the Eagles leave the door open, I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago went to Philly and pulled off this outright upset. Everything with the Eagles each week, it seems like there's turmoil. It seems like there's drama. It seems like there's chaos, and they're still sitting there 8-3. Last week, they come out like the world on fire in the first half. Offense is looking great, throwing the ball all around the yard. Second half, they completely forget how to play football. This week, the discussion's been getting Saquon going and how much he struggled. Does Tank Bigsby get more carries? I think we see, too, when there's extra, noise and chaos around a certain situation, like an AJ Brown type thing, they force feed him the ball. I think this week we're really going to see a heavy emphasis on getting Saquon the ball and getting him going in this one. And that Bears defense is definitely able to be exploited. So I like the Eagles to win this one. I like them to actually put up some points, but I do think the Bears are good enough and have shown enough this year to keep this one close and keep it within the number. So I'm going to go 27-24, Eagles win, Bears +7 over 44. Kind of like the Chiefs, what we were talking about, give the Eagles the benefit of the doubt because they have a large enough sample size where even when things are going wrong, they still find ways to win. All right, we'll go to Sunday now, where we have 3 games to touch on, all with playoff implications. Don't look now, but the Texans at 6-5 travel to Indy to play the 8-3 Colts. Texans win this game. That they come within 1 game of that, tying the Colts for the division lead. The Jaguars still alive as well, I believe, sitting at 7-4. So AFC South isn't wrapped up, and the Colts are showing that they're still a vulnerable team. 1 o'clock kick on CBS. Colts are a 4.5-point favorite. Over under is 44.5.
Yeah, I'm going Texans winning this one outright, 23-21. So they cover the 4.5, under 44.5 hidden. I think some of the Colts magic is starting to run out, but don't get me wrong. I think they're still a very good team, but the offense hasn't looked as dominant in recent weeks. And then they're going up against what is arguably the best defense in the NFL. The Texans lead the league in yards allowed per game, and they're second in points. I think if you ask anyone, it's either the Texans defense or the Rams defense who's the best in the league. They're also getting off the field on third down at the second highest rate, and they take the ball away at a super high rate as well. So that's the main reason, and pretty much the only reason I'm picking the Texans. I don't feel super confident in the pick because of the Texans offense. CJ Stroud is still in concussion protocol, which it's become super concerning at this point for how long it's been. But however, even if he's not able to go again this week, Davis Mills has been competent in his absence. I'm going with the upset here because of the Texans D, though.
Yeah, you touched on it best. Like, what's the deal with CJ Stroud? Is he going to play this week? That had to be pretty nasty concussion. But Davis Mills has been really good, and they haven't exactly played the best teams either, the best defenses either, but he's kept them afloat, and that defense is really legit. I do like them to cover this +4.5, but I am going to take the Colts at home to win it. 24-23. Jonathan Taylor has kind of slowed down over the past couple of weeks, and I think we've seen that reflect in Daniel Jones' play as well. Like when Jonathan Taylor's been running wild, that's when we've seen Daniel Jones really play well too, because obviously that opens up the passing game when they're really honing in and looking to shut down Jonathan Taylor. But that Daniel Jones effect, like what do we see over him? Like Sam Darnold had a couple bad games so far this season, but then he's bounced back. Does Daniel Jones have it in him to kind of go on a run here over the second half? Because with that Sauce Gardner trade and the amount of capital they gave up for him, the contract that they took on for him, that pretty much eliminates the Colts from going out there and making any major moves at the quarterback spot. Like they need Daniel Jones to be the guy, and they really need him to play well over the rest of the season to kind of give them some confidence that he is the guy for that franchise going forward. I think this is one of those games against one of the top 5 defenses in the league that they can go out there and find a way to win this one, put up 24 points or so. That could give the Colts some real confidence going forward, not just for this season, but for the franchise as well. So one of the more important games of the weekend here, I think, with Daniel Jones, not job on the line, but confidence-wise going forward, what can he do to make the Colts really believe that he is that long-term quarterback? I'll take the Colts to win, Texans to cover. Texans like to play these really close games. I'll go 24-23 Colts, Texans +4.5 and over 44.5. All right, 1 o'clock on Fox. The Rams at 9-2. I think looking like the best team in the NFL right now. They travel to the Panthers 6-6. We're still fighting for a playoff spot. 1 o'clock kick on Fox. Rams 10.5-point favorite, over under 45.5. I think if the Panthers lose this one, pretty much eliminate themselves from any chance of going to the playoffs.
Yeah, the Rams winning pretty comfortably, 34-20. So they cover 10.5, over 45.5. I didn't even think about this one. I don't think it's really a question here. I think the Rams are clearly the best team in the NFL right now. The Panthers have won some tough games though this year, and especially games where they were underdogs. I know the Packers won. People think about a lot, but there's just no way you can talk me into them winning this game. Every week I read off Matt Stafford's numbers because they're just incredible. He's now on pace for 4,300 yards and 46 touchdowns to go along with just 3 picks. The offense is one of the best in the NFL, and then just so is their defense. They're top 10 in most stats and number 1 in points allowed per game. The Panthers have been a nice story, but I think they'll be absolutely outclassed this week, and I think Stafford's going to end up winning his first MVP this year, and then the Rams are going to continue working towards locking up that first-round bye.
Yeah, the Panthers are kind of in that same realm as like the Bears, I think, but the Bears are a little bit above them. But the Panthers are just like what kind of team shows up on a weekly basis that they get to play against. You look at who they've beaten this year. Besides really the Packers, they've really beat up on the inferior opponents. We saw last week when they played a strong defense against the 49ers, what that offense did and how much Bryce Young really struggled. And Bryce Young, I think, long term, he could be an average starting quarterback, one of maybe like between 20 and 32 or something like that. But I think we've seen enough from him to know that he's not going to be a guy that elevates you to a top team in the NFC, a Super Bowl type champion. And I think the Panthers probably give him one more year and then they'll be in the quarterback market. But this is one of those games too against a top defense where I think he struggles. Shula, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, should definitely be one of the top head coaching candidates. Sean McVay just continues to roll out head coaches in this league from his coaching tree. Shula looks like he's next up, but that defense is elite. When you pair that with this offense, Matt Stafford playing at career numbers, Devontae Adams has been a menace in the red zone this year. You're able to lean on Kyron Williams in the run game, Puka Nacua as well. Just the formula of everything kind of working right for that Rams team has to give you the faith that that's a Super Bowl contending team for sure, and you can even argue the Super Bowl favorite at this stage of the game. So I like the Rams to go out there and dominate this inferior Panthers team. 31-17 I'll go, so Rams minus 10.5 and over 45.5. All right, to finish out our game previews, the Bills at 7-4, one of the more head-scratching and disappointing teams in the league this year as well. Went into the year tied with the Ravens as the Super Bowl favorite, and now there's legitimate questions that either of those teams make the playoffs. Pretty wild. They're at 7-4, traveling to the 6-5 Steelers, who, I give credit to Mason Rudolph. They showed up, and the offense actually looked pretty good last week. And I know they played that Bears defense that isn't exactly an elite unit, but if he's forced to play this week against a Bills defense that hasn't been able to stop anyone this year, I have some faith that they'll actually be able to move the ball. So 425 kick on CBS. Bills 3.5-point favorite here on the road, over under 47.5.
Yeah, so I'm going Bills 27, Steelers 23, Bills minus 3.5, over 47.5. Like you said, the Bills have major concerns on both sides of the ball. I think Josh Allen was sacked 8 times last week against the Texans. They've been super inconsistent, going 3-4 in their last 7. I think overall, I would still consider the offense to be one of the elite units in the league and think they should be able to bounce back here. The Keon Coleman situation, though, is definitely super weird and concerning because they don't seem to have a ton of wide receiver depth or guys who are just able to consistently get open. But I do trust Josh Allen to make plays when needed. The running game is also super important for the Bills to win. If James Cook is able to have a good game, which it seems like usually is the case now, I think they'll be able to outscore the Steelers. But the Bills defense has been a major concern, but I don't know. I don't think I necessarily trust the Steelers offense to go out there and light it up. I think it will most likely be Aaron Rodgers suiting up for the Steelers this week, but I'll ride with the Bills regardless, even if it's Rodgers or Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bills too. Game that not really confident because I don't know what team shows up for the Bills every week. Like last week against the Texans, that defense absolutely dominated them and they fall flat and they allow Davis Mills to go out there and carve up the defense. Steelers too, like 6-5 playing for their playoff lives. You assume Mason Rudolph in the fold. Can he put back-to-back good performances together? I don't know. So it's a game that's a real head scratcher to me. You give me Steelers at home as an underdog under Mike Tomlin. Sure, I'll take them to cover, but I'll take the Bills to win. Two defenses that have been wildly disappointing this year. Bills invested a lot of money with their extensions into that defense this offseason, and they've really fell flat. The Steelers, as we know, the highest paid defense in the league, they haven't really shown up at all this season either. So two teams that have been disappointing on that side of the ball. I think that combines for an over there. I'll go Bills 31, Steelers 28. So Steelers plus 3.5 and over 47.5. All right, we'll get into some props now, some parlays. We'll go with our touchdown parlay. This week, we're going to roll with any of those 3 games on Thursday and the game on Friday, can combine those. So I'll start us off on Thursday. I'm going to go with Jamar Chase, minus 120. As I said at the beginning, Love him to score an anytime touchdown this week. I think with Joe Burrow back in the fold, he'll get peppered with targets. Chase as well coming back from a suspension. We'll see kind of a fire under his behind. I think he finds a way to score this week and has one of the bigger games of his career, arguably. Double-digit catches, over 100 yards, and I love him to score this week. So I think Jamar Chase has a big night on Thursday night on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thursday night, my pick, I'm going Derrick Henry minus 230 against the Bengals. The Bengals defense stinks. I think Lamar's a little more reluctant to run the ball right now because of the nagging injury. So I think Derrick Henry gets plenty of opportunities to score this week.
My Friday play, I'm going to go with Saquon minus 120 against the Chicago Bears to score a touchdown. Listen, no sugarcoating it. Hasn't had a good season at all. But the Eagles, I think, big focus this week and all the talk this week is on getting Saquon more involved and getting Saquon going. So I think that he finds a way into the end zone. They really struggled to get him to break any long runs this year, but this is a Bears defense that is definitely vulnerable, especially on the run. We saw the Steelers have some big runs on them last week. I love Saquon to find his way to the end zone this week at minus 120.
Yeah, Friday I'm going with an Eagle as well. A.J. Brown plus 140 against the Bears. He has 11 and 10 targets in the last two games. It seems to me it's pretty clear that they've made it a priority to kind of keep him happy.
All right, then we will go to Sunday. You can pick either a Sunday or a Monday night game for this one. I'm going to go with JSN plus 105 as my first touchdown score. You give me JSN at plus money any week the rest of the season. I think you have to take it. He's been the best receiver by far in the NFL this year. It seems like he's scoring each and every week. Him and Sam Darnold have a great rapport. And I just remember, just a handful of weeks ago, the Eagles with their struggling passing attack had 3 receiving touchdowns to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in that game. I think JSN is definitely capable of doing that against a Minnesota Vikings team that looks like they might be in quit mode right now.
Yeah, I'm going Devontae Adams minus 140 against the Panthers. He scored in 5 straight, and he often scores multiple times a game. Stafford leads the league in touchdowns with 7 more than anyone else, and I think they hang a big number against the Panthers.
I'll also go with Christian McCaffrey minus 120. It's against a stingy Browns defense, a really tough Browns defense, but if the 49ers are going to score at all, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. He's the lifeblood of that offense for sure. You give it him at minus 120, a guy that's usually priced at minus 175 and above most weeks. You have to love that. So give me CMC at minus 120 there for my other leg.
Yeah, I'm going Monday night, Travion Henderson minus 125. I think the Patriots win a close game against the Giants, and he ends up getting a couple of opportunities at the goal line.
All right, so Travion, that gives us plus 1059 for our Sunday/Monday parlay, and our Thursday/Friday, we have a plus 1190. So 10-1 there, at least on both of them. Hopefully one of those able to cash this week. Dog of the week, favorite underdog of the week. I'll go with the dog pound Browns plus 4.5. I think that defense is good enough and stingy enough to keep them in there. We saw Brock Purdy really struggle last week. This game's going to be on the road, probably in some bad weather in Cleveland. Myles Garrett, just an absolute wrecking ball right now. If they're able to force a couple turnovers, and hell, if Shador can just take care of the football and make a couple plays in the passing game, I think they could win that one outright. But 4.5, I think they can cover for sure. Could see them losing on like a backbreaking field goal down the stretch. So Browns plus 4.5. Give me them to cover with a potential chance of an outright win too.
Yeah, my dog of the week, I'm going Giants plus 7 against the Patriots. The Giants have played very close games the last 3 weeks against the Bears, Packers, and Lions. Those are 3 pretty good teams, so I think they're able to keep it close here again against the Patriots.
All right, and lock of the week, I'll go Falcons Jets under 39.5. The Falcons offense has been wildly disappointing this year. We know Kirk Cousins in there now instead of Michael Penix, but that defense has really came to play. They invested a lot into that defense this offseason. That's been a very good unit, and the Jets with Tyrod Taylor, I don't really think are going to move the ball that well. And the Jets defense, too, over the last few weeks has really taken some strides. They really kind of limited the Ravens last week. So I think Falcons Jets under 39.5. You got a chance for like a 20-10 type of game right there. I'm going to use that as my lock of the week.
My lock of the week, I'm going in under as well, but for the Broncos Commanders. The Broncos defense is very good, and I'm not trusting either of these offenses to score a ton. The under is also 7-2 in the Broncos' last 9.
All right, that'll do it for this week here at Beef Up Front, the NFL preview. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have great football over the next few days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm really excited to really relax, sit down, and watch these games. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. As always, please like, please subscribe, and we'll talk next week.